Have you ever thought of any of the legal ramifications? I know I hadn't. I just thought, how could I possibly be doing anything wrong? And we all know that ignorance of the law is probably not something that's going to hold up in court.
It keeps lawyers employed, that's for darn sure. But,
well, Brent Kleinman, thank you for joining us today. And I got to tell you, you have set the bar for all future guests because your marketing and promotion of this show this past week has been unbelievable.
well, I know this is something that through my network and everything else, there's a lot of people out there. And luckily, I've been able to share this with everybody. And I want them to know you do this show every week. It's a good show. And that this week they got a pretty good guest on there. So I'm glad they are hopefully all tuning in. I'm waiting for the little words to light up that say everybody's online and we're holding and we've got a bank of calls. But I know it will light up soon. It's only just 12:20 or 12:18 on radio time.
Well, and for our listeners, if you would like to call in and be a part of the show, the number is 480-423-1260. The Social View looks at everything that we're posting, commenting, liking, sharing, all the things that you're talking about, and we're talking about it here. So if you don't be a part of the show, then it's my view and my guest's view. So the Social View is also I want to hear your view, so feel free to call in.
We'll interact. And Christina, the biggest story this week everywhere and anywhere has obviously been Chick-fil-A.
Absolutely.
So you look at that and you say, okay, how can that hurt me, help me, or whatever as far as my job goes and supporting or disliking what Chick-fil-A, the president, said? Well, the amazing thing is it can get you fired. The whole concept of Chick-fil-A and liking their page has the potential to get you fired.
So me liking their page or his comment,
you could end up without your job.
How is that?
Well,
I mean, I'm sorry, but from a social media standpoint, there's really not that much power in a like.
No, there's not a lot of power in a like. But what happens with a like, and everyone's seen it, and you search for those likes and you try and get those likes on your page because their picture shows up and says, so-and-so likes this. And I can list and say, I've got 500 likes now. I've got 5,000 likes. And if your boss isn't one of those people that likes it, he or she can say, I don't want that type of person working for me. And that like, because it's only a like, isn't protected by the First Amendment.
Okay, so how could it be? And the First Amendment is freedom of speech. Freedom
of speech. And what the courts have said is liking that alone isn't really speaking. You're not making a speech, a declaration that they can protect. You're clicking a button on Facebook. Now, if you said, I like that page, and say, way to go, Chick-fil-A, that all of a sudden is protected. So you just need to make sure when you're dealing and diving into political issues, A, you work for someone who agrees with you, or B, you write why you like the page, because then you're okay.
So then you're protected.
Then you're protected.
All right. We haven't really gotten to dive into much, and I see that we've already got a caller. Lindsay, thank you for calling in. Hi. What's your question?
Have you guys addressed any of the blog issues yet? I'm sorry, I was just tuning in.
No, we haven't touched blogging yet. Do you have a specific question regarding blogging?
I do.
Good morning, Lindsay. All right, I guess after it probably is morning for you, so you just woke up, didn't you?
I did. I rolled out of bed so I could listen to you guys.
Fantastic. All right, what's your question?
If you have a blog that's for, let's say, an organization, or I'll just use mine as an example, a nonprofit, and you're blogging on an actual event or almost kind of like a diary post of something that has happened, can that account be kind of used against you legally? I think Brent, I've used him in some legal situations, and he knows what I'm referring to, but I thought it would be a good idea to call in and let people know kind of what I'm going through and see if he could speak to that at all, to let people know that it's not just Facebook, your blog that you might have out there for your business. You really have to be careful about what you say. So I thought maybe Brent could elaborate on that a little more.
Well, my first disclaimer, this is not legal advice that I'm giving that you all should count on and take to the bank. Every situation is completely different, and consult an attorney in your own personal situation. But you do need to be careful there are issues of possible wrongs that you can do in your blog if you are insulting somebody, misrepresenting a situation, or things such as that. You want to state what happened, what you believe is the truth, and you want to make it as neutral as possible. And most courts are going to look and say your beliefs are protected by the First Amendment if you make a habit or a repetitive process of slandering someone or a business, something like that, that is possibly actionable, but most likely in your case and cases similar to yours, you would be protected.
Okay, so my personal account of a situation or an individual, without directly saying their name, just kind of my personal account or situation that I've had with them is okay to put out there?
I don't know how much I would recommend sharing with the World Wide Web, but if there's certain things you need to share that aren't irreparably damaging another party, you would have a defense to that. You don't want to go out there and harm their ability to live their life. And if your sharing of your story is doing that, then there's damages that are available.
So would that be the same as me sharing about a bad experience that I had with a business?
Businesses are...
Or is this different because it's a person?
A person's going to be different because a business is open to the public, and there's that public record of saying people are able to, through food reviews, if it, say, for instance, a restaurant. I mean, they have reviewers come in. You can't sue somebody for slandering me when they come in and say the food service was horrible, the food was overcooked, and so forth, so on. But when you're talking a personal person and they are a private member of society and they're damaged because of what's happened, then there's the opportunity that they may be able to seek damages. But it's a very difficult fight, and the first lawsuit actually on a social media and slander was Courtney Love, who 2 years ago really insulted the heck out of her fashion designer who she didn't pay for a dress for. And they sued her, and it ended up settling out of court, so there's not really any case law to say what's the ground rules.
Lindsay, thank you for calling in, and thank you for rolling out of bed to join us.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so what about, let's talk a little bit about businesses. We've talked about an employee and how, their like or lack of commenting could get them fired if they were working for the wrong person, which actually you shared with me a story. Before we get on to that, you shared with me a story of someone who did actually get fired for liking a page.
Yeah, down, it was, there's a story about West Virginia. A sheriff was running for re-election, not much different than our Sheriff Joe, and a couple of his employees...
There's a sheriff there that's not much different? Come on. There's only one Sheriff Joe.
It's West Virginia. I think everyone's kind of like Sheriff Joe there.
Okay.
But a couple of this sheriff's employees weren't real happy with the sheriff, so they went and they liked the Facebook page of the competitor. And November rolled around, the competitor lost. The day after the election, the sheriff fired those two people. And they stated that because he said we weren't happy with the performance, so forth, so on. But when it came to court, they finally disclosed through depositions that he found out the two of them were supporting the other candidate, and the court ruled that isn't protected speech because they simply just liked the page, and it was a negative reflection on the business to have two current employees advertising for replacing basically the president of the company.
Now, I have to say, on face value, as a voter, I would not like that. I would not like the fact that, the sheriff handled it that way. But as an employee, I was previously a marketing director for another radio station, which we will not name that radio station. But I knew that if I were to like another radio station, that would probably, I mean, it was kind of an unwritten rule. That would probably not bode well for my job there.
No.
Yeah.
And this is pretty much the same thing. I mean, that was a specific sense of a competitor and liking that. I mean, that's like, imagine, it's the big joke, those Coke Pepsi commercials, when you see the guy in the Coke uniform going and grabbing a Pepsi Max. I mean, if that really happened, or their Facebook page had a link, a like, a association with Pepsi, whoever put that on there is going to be fired.
You know what, though? I have to say, I think that a business that isn't short-sighted and that can see the bigger picture would understand that by liking your competition, you're actually able to see what they're doing, and you can view what's working and what's not working. And they may do something that didn't work well for them, but with your creative, amazing, superpower marketing person, they could do it better.
Sure.
So...
And I refuse to try and believe my marketing skills are much of anything. I mean, I am a glorified hack at marketing, but I believe they could probably watch all that without it being visible to you and I that they're watching that. And I think that's the way most companies want it to be, where there's not that visible connection that you're liking another person's page or you're following that for the general world to see. So
right.
that's the big change in that. And the other, to run back to Chick-fil-A real quick, it was down here in Tucson, we had a chief financial officer. So we're not talking just an hourly employee, a cashier, something. Chief financial officer of a company got fired for going through a drive-through of a Chick-fil-A.
Are you sure that it wasn't because of his comments that he said?
May have been
I
his
think
comments.
There was something about I'm completely heterosexual, not a gay in me.
Yes,
all right, we are going to the break, and when we get back, we are going to attack more of these social media issues and the legal ramifications regarding your kids, employers, employees, businesses, images. I mean, we've got a lot of information to tackle. So we'll be back. You're listening to The Social View. I'm Christina Wagner, and my amazingly brilliant guest is Brent Kleinman.
Correct. We'll talk to you soon.
Every day, businesses lose critical customer and financial data as a result of cybercrimes, human errors, and natural disasters. Barracuda Networks, the world leader in content security, application delivery, and data protection, with more than 130,000 customers worldwide, can help. Barracuda Backup Service combines local backup and